Welcome back, everybody. Please turn on Follow Presenter. And let's take a look at the next lesson, which is Read and Write Web-Based Datasets. If you're looking for the data which is in the lesson itself, quite often those data sets are just created for the screenshots. So the FME data might for a little bit longer than usual there. So as I was saying, the paths which you see in the screenshots in the individual lessons, those data sets might not actually exist. They were simply entered for the screenshot itself. In the next lesson, not this one that we're doing right now, you'll be doing an exercise with actual data sets which do exist. So we'll be getting to that in just a moment. Before that, let's talk a little bit about web-based data sets. So in Workbench, let's say I have a blank workspace. I want to add in, let's say, a MapInfo tab reader. Now, when I'm reading from MapInfo tab, I can select a data set from my own computer. So let's see, if I go to FME data, parks, I have a tab file. Now, this tab file, this actually consists of multiple files. If I go and change the filter here to show all the files, I can see that I have the parks tab file. I also have a parks map file, a parks ID file, and a parks dat file. So there's actually 4 files, which makes up this mapinfo tab file. This is very similar to shape files and ultimately file geodatabases. It's a single data set, but it's multiple files. This isn't a problem if I am reading from the local disk. But if I'm reading from a web-based location, this can introduce a problem. Yes, I see that the camera is actually cutting in and out a lot more than usual. I'm going to try the troubleshooting. There's a troubleshoot button for my audio video that has in the past cut down how often that's happening. I'm going to try that again, which means I'll cut out one more time. Hopefully that'll reduce it. And I'm going to ask Sam to go yell at the Strigo support people and see if they can change anything. A little bit more stable now. Okay, if I want to read something directly from a URL, let's see if I can paste directly in here. There. So here I have an Amazon S3 bucket. These can be made public, so I just have a URL directly to this file. In this case, if I just pointed to the parks.tab file, the reader would only know that the parks tab file is there. It's not smart enough to check or grab all the other files. With a zip file for downloading it, it's just going to grab that file. If I was reading something that is a single file, like an AutoCAD file, if I had, say, a roads.dwg file, there's no additional files attached to that. So if I'm reading from a web-based location, I could just put in roads.dwg. In that situation, the reader would work just fine. It's only when the data set consists of multiple files that you have to read in a zip file. Now, for our data sets here that we'll be using in the training, this is on a public repository. There is no need for a username or password. But that's not always the case. If you do have to supply some form of login, we do have an option in the reader to use network authentication. Here, you can choose an authentication method and supply a username or password if the web page has to be logged into. There's also a number of web-based file systems available, and we can log in directly to those as well. So the supported ones are Bentley ProjectWise, Box, Dropbox. If you happen to have an FME Flow installation available to you, you can use that as well. Google Drive, HDFS, and Microsoft OneDrive. If you're using a web-based file system and you don't see it offered here, you can also check the FME Hub. These are the default ones which are installed when you install FME. There are additional web services available on the FME Hub. So I'll hit OK. And then this is going to add the reader in a moment here. It does have to download the zip file, so the first time takes a little bit of time for it to scan through the schema of the files within the zip file. You'll notice that I didn't choose a specific MapInfo tab file when I chose the zip file. If there were multiple files available, it would actually add in all of them. So here I have my MapInfo tab file, and it's pointing directly to this Amazon S3 hosted file. This can be really handy if you have a number of data sets available online. That way you don't have to download it onto your own machine and then end up with a bit of a version control issue. Are you actually using the most up-to-date files? You're also just using up a lot more file system than is necessary. If your organization have gigabytes of data, if you're replicating all of that on your own machine, you're simply ending up using more file space. So this is one way of accessing online repositories of data. It's not the only way. You could also read things in by using a creator transformer to bootstrap one of our connection transformers. So if I type in connector, here we can see various connector transformers, which can read or write data to web-based file systems. And there's quite a few of these: Amazon Athena, ArcGIS Online, Autodesk Docs. I'm not going to read through all of them, but you can see that the list is fairly comprehensive. So wherever your data happens to be stored, we should be able to access it. Okay, so that is read and write web-based data sets. When coming to writing web-based data sets, just to clarify, the writer itself cannot write directly to any of these web-based systems. We can read directly from a URL. We cannot write directly to a URL. We can read directly from these web-based file systems such as Dropbox, Google Drive. We cannot write directly to them using a writer. If you want to write to any of those file systems, you do have to use one of the connector transformers in order to do that. Okay, so please review, read and write web-based data sets, do the quiz at the end of it, and we'll continue at 9:50. Okay, good luck, everybody.